I was going to ask you a question. I mean, we're talking about addictions. One of those addictions, which unfortunately even pervade our Muslim countries, is pornography addiction.
Hmm.
Now, how do we deal with that? Because that's an addiction which I was actually listening to. I'm sure you've heard Andrew Huberman. He also does a lot of work on like dopamine and stuff like that. And I heard him have a conversation with somebody. I don't know who he was speaking to, but it's a podcast like the one we're having right now. And there was an interesting point he made, which is that when you are addicted to pornography, he was making the point that it actually makes you voyeur. I mean, he didn't put it in these terms, but it makes you voyeuristic in the sense that you become aroused based on the third person experience of looking at pornography rather than being aroused because of the first person experience of actually getting involved in the sexual activity. So it messes up the wiring in the brain somehow. Obviously, this is putting it colloquially. The question is, someone is now addicted, whether they are married or have a sexual partner or not, to pornography. What would be, first of all, how do you diagnose this? And what are the practical solutions to be able to deal with this?
Okay, well, there are two things. He missed out on one thing, though,
Sure.
because he got one thing totally right.
Mm.
You're not in control of the action when you're looking at, this sort of an act. Video is not going to put you in control. That means you would require less control in your real life, okay? And you would want that kind of script to control your own personal sexual life with your partner, with your wife. That really changes things. That's what he meant when he said it's changing the wiring of the brain. Secondly, it objectifies the very action and the subject and the object. It actually objectifies the whole, routine, which again is going to trigger. It's an atypical dopamine cycle. Okay, that means you're going to have to recreate all of that with your wife or husband if you are addicted to pornography, and unless you recreate that and top it, because the one time you're going to recreate that, that's going to get the dopamine center.
But how would you
dopamine.
recreate it? Would they watch it together, or how
No. Whatever any one of them has seen at any kind of scene, they're
Yeah.
going to have to recreate it. But they're going to get that dopamine from that scene. Now they're not going to get the same dopamine from that scene. No, they have to top it up.
So they'll create fantasies in the bedroom.
Not just that, but the more extreme the fantasy, the more dopamine.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so whatever kind of pornography they're
I
going.
actually, sorry to cut you off. I was reading a book. Don't ask me why, but there was a book that was written by this guy called Justin Lee-Miller, and it's called "Tell Me What You Want." And in that book, he done I don't know, it's a survey of 4,000 or 3,000 people in America, and he was asking them what their sexual fantasies are. And they put, like you mentioned, like a lot of the stuff would be considered to be completely atypical. Sorry to say, threesomes and incestuous and
Not just
you
that,
know.
but go gruesome. That's the word.
BDSM was huge on the list. Yeah.
And not, but then it'll, because there's so much that a woman or a man can do. So they'll have to come up with some techniques to actually, again, topping it up.
Wow.
Just like a
like a
smoker
drug. It's
is
like a
going to
drug.
go into marijuana, marijuana is going to go into coke, coke is going to go into heroin, and heroin is going to overdose you.
It's the same thing, right?
Literally. The problem with pornography would be that there's this thing in the brain called the VTA. That's the central area around which the limbic system is placed. And there's this protein precipitant called the delta phos B.
Okay.
Once it precipitates there, you cannot get it out.
Sure.
Parkinson actually, people with Parkinson are going to go through the same thing. But the fact that, even if you have to get that is purely dopamine, by the way. So if you have to go and get delta phos B out of the whole cycle, you need an antagonist to actually work the exact opposite cycle of dopamine. Once this protein precipitates, you're not going to, this is as fatal as it gets in terms of these sort of, in this realm. You're permanently addicted to it. In other words, it is going to make you as much of an impotent person, even though you're not going to be impotent, but nothing's going to arouse you, because even if it does, you'll have to actually therapeutically arouse yourself. And hence, those psychologists are going to keep telling these couples to pretend that he's somebody else, and go into role play that, or wear masks or whatever. They're going to come up with all sorts of things. But there's a limit to how many masks a man can wear, or a woman can be called.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? So these lists are going to wear out, and they're going to run out of pretensions and scenarios and role plays. And the fact that if I am an actor by design, then imagine the kind of low self-esteem a person has that his wife is pretending that I'm somebody else. Look at the damage from the other angle. That if my wife has to pretend that I'm some other man, that's actually shaking the very core of my actual esteem and my belief. As a Muslim, I can't even think about these things, right? So that's why Muslims can't. I'm assuming Muslims would never be able to think about role plays. It's like, this is as...
You'd be surprised. Muslims do all kinds of things.
Well, then they better start playing this video all over.
I even came across scholarly words, classical scholar positions that I'm not going to go into great details, but books have been written about this, basically talking about what hukum these kinds of things have. If you're thinking about
I'll tell you, it's for the boys only. Girls are going to be really reactive to this video, this part of the video, so skip it. But even if boys are actually pretending that she's someone else, it's not as hurting or hurtful in chemistry than if a girl is doing it. Because if a girl is doing that, then you're actually opening a lot more doors to a lot or bigger problems. And now I'm not going to trigger on purpose the theological doctrine here.
Sure.
But because every Muslim can do the math and why it's going to be devastating. Anybody who's even read anything. But as a man, and you need to understand that women's psychology doesn't work like men's psychology. Women's dopamine cycles are not about novelty. Man's dopamine cycle is novelty. Every
day. So what's it for the woman then?
Longevity. If it is not the same guy forever, it's not dopaminergic for a woman. You know what I'm saying? Hence, one husband for the wife in Jannah. And he's not going to be able to divorce you. That's longevity. But for the man, novelty is dopaminergic. Actually, nothing compares to novelty when it comes down to dopamine for a man's psychology. I mean, so that's why if men are pretending, well, I get it. But if women are pretending that, you're not the husband, then you got a bigger problem than just porn addiction, buddy. A way bigger problem.
Yeah. Also, that's the problem. What's the solution?
Again, dopamine works in the same ways. So dopamine retardation, the dilation, has to be retarded, shrunk back into its original size. And it's not about the dilation, it's about the triggers as well. So you need to take longer breaks, totally different level of, rehabilitation of dopamine. For example, in this case, I would use the verse of the Quran, just like if there is infidelity, I would use the same verse, just got to separate, try and take a longer break, go way more deeper into spirituality, come up with, reconstructing yourself, and then come back to your husband or to that wife who's pretending you're somebody else, buddy. This is a problem. I mean, this is a problem. Yeah. So I'm thinking the therapy isn't that verse, because that verse is at that time, and you see any kind of, I mean, you can treat it as a philosophical redundant. Why? I mean, we're laughing. It's not funny. Yeah. And it's so, it's devastating for a man. I mean, God forbid, oh my God, na'udhu billah, if, imagine, forget physiology right now, forget physiology. Talk about psychology right now. Your self-esteem is, there is no self-esteem. I mean, imagine if a woman is flirting with somebody.
Worse.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, what else is there? I mean, there is no bigger emergency, buddy. You're done. I mean, you're done way before, and this is happening.
I'm wondering who you're addressing at this point.
I swear to you, you're the one who came up with this caricature, man.
Yeah, no, sure. No, but it is a thing. I mean, people fantasize all the time.
People do, and I said, boys will be boys. But if your woman is doing that, your woman already knows you're not a man. Okay? It's not your woman, buddy. I know we got a document for it. You have a document for it. I mean, that's all you got. You know, you can wave around your, your marital certificate. I mean, it's not rocket science, right? I mean, it's like common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't take a Muslim to know that. Even non-Muslims like, yeah, dude, this dude's right, man. Samantha is saying, yeah, I know what he's talking about. We're not talking about Zulekha or Khadijas. Even Samantha's like, yeah, this dude's not our man.
So the solution is, you said, retardation.
Yep.
So does that mean like having a break from all of it?
Well, no. A break from general concepts of life, which means, separate yourself. And you got to have two parties serious about this concept that, you know what, this is a problem. I mean, this is, on paper, it's not going to look like a problem. So you got to really have a consent that, yeah, you know what, I can't. And any real man would be talking to a woman that, you know what, this is not on. I mean, it's not that I want to punish you or anything. I want to reconstruct myself inside, or let's just, call it quits. Because you need to be with the woman who thinks you're her man. Yeah. It's not just hearing the wrong name at the wrong time, but it's about, it's way more than that.
But in general, though, in pornography addiction in general.
Delta Phos B. Look it up, everybody. Look, Delta Phos B. VTA, you'll find out how big of a physical ailment this is.
Okay, so that, in terms of screen
and
use.
for men, let me just scare you out.
Sure.
Boys, impotence. Literally, you're calling for impotence, okay? Way earlier than you can possibly come. Because that protein is going to accumulate, and it's not about the fact that you're physically impotent. Your psychology is not going to let you get into the game.
What erectile dysfunction?
Well, that would be the symptom. The cause would be, because when you go for ED to any doctor, he's not going to look into your psychology.
How long does it take for someone to get to that level?
Well, with more pornography, sooner, more videos, you're asking for it. I'm talking about decades earlier than it's supposed to happen.
Is it?
Yeah, literally. I'm talking about 40s and 50s men going down. Literally.
Really, bro?
Yeah. Still, I'm talking about, just pornography. Because there are a lot of other things that actually, you're living through because of, your own routines of pornography. And plus, you know what, this is why I'm telling you, Islam is such an amazing solution. There's so many things which are prohibited just for the sake of not even going into the grays. I mean, this is as black as it gets. We're not even supposed to enter the grays. And that actually, rekindles everyday relationships with, husband and wife. It's pretty organic. So now with new and improved creativity of the pornographers, they're going into, you'll be amazed as to, what kind of reports we get.
So compare pornography with drugs. Like what kind of level it would
totally
be on?
Different. We're talking about, there is no drug that is, because drugs are quick action, and they're going to, for example, let's just take cocaine.
Sure.
No, let's just take meth. It's got more dopamine than coke.
Does it?
Yeah, but the fact is...
But most people know what cocaine is. Okay, meth is fine, because people know what that is as well.
Well, there's not going to be much people in coke when they're going to be listening to this kind of podcast, but most of them are going to be meth.
Sure, fine.
Meth accustomed or meth aware. So meth is way more deadly than cocaine, medically speaking. It's got a lot more dopamine. It's more acute. It's quick action.
What about opium? Or opioids in general?
Opiates are dopaminergic, but let's just say marijuana, okay?
Fine.
Marijuana is not going to intoxicate you. So there's going to be a lot of scoff. I'm not going to say that because people are going to jump into marijuana because it doesn't really affect the general sense of judgment. But it is purely dopamine, and it's got low dose, low potency in terms of the measure of dopamine. And I'm not a drug expert. It's just talking about psychology here. But if you're not going to... Okay, let's just compare coke with meth and you'll find out what I'm talking about. Cocaine, you can get out of. Meth, you won't be able to get out of if you cross some certain thresholds.
Really?
Yeah.
Because there are like programs for people that meth.
No. You're not going to do meth once you're rehabilitated. But because of that dopamine dilation,
you mean
you're going to be into a lot of the things which are going to satisfy your dopamine needs. That's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, cocaine is slow action. So you're going to be living a regular life other than coke, other than your episodes of whenever you're doing coke, right? In meth, you're owning your 24 hours. That's why I'm saying it's quick action. It's a horizontal.
So compare that with pornography. Then what's the comparison?
Well, pornography is about man or woman, right? Yeah. So you need to have a man or a woman. I'm talking about if you're a man, you need women.
Well, now there's people watch homosexual stuff as well.
Well,
that's one of the most popular categories.
Again, the two genders are going to still remain as the two variables, right? Either man or man. Yeah. So 2 to the power of 2, right? For whatever LGBTQI, to the power of whatever. But there's still going to be 2 sets of genitals, right?
Yeah.
So it's not, you cannot confuse that, and that should be one of the arguments for against LGBT. It's like, how do you set pornography as one of your case studies? You still need these 2 genders, right? So what I'm saying is, women are still going to be women, men are still going to be men. There's certain parts and certain curves of the man or the woman, and there's a research in that. Okay, and I'm not talking about pornography. Sex as a subject was well read, and it has been. Google it, read it, of what is the most attractive thing and why is it the most attractive thing for the opposite gender, or part of the body, starting from the eyes and to any kind of things. And you'll be amazed as to how men are more attracted towards non-sexual parts of a woman, and if they get too much exposure or too easy to access, they're not sexually attractive. That's the design of a human being.
It's true.
And that's dopamine, by the way.
If
there's no effort, there's no dopamine.
I remember one time, there's the carnival in there. We have something called the carnival, London Carnival.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And sometimes I just happen to be in the area when they're doing it. It just happened. That's true, though. I just have to be in the area.
You're giving me too many cues about a lot of things, man.
And honestly, there was some of the women that actually, what they wear is they're effectively naked. I mean, I saw they were effectively naked. They were wearing to cover their nipples. They were wearing stickers, whatever they're called. But it was like mine. It was basically she was naked, but then it wasn't having a reaction on me. And I think it's the reason why you just mentioned this, because it was just too easy. It's too easy.
Yes.
It's too easy.
See, there's a sense of achievement.
Yes.
So hence it's not dopamine there.
Yeah. It's too easy. I said, okay, well, this would, in other contexts, probably do something for me. But because you're just putting yourself like that without any...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it was too easy.
Okay. Well, that's not my general expertise about... But when you're talking about pornography, I'm telling you this right now, it's way more devastating for women than men.
Really?
Because they're dependent on those addicts. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
Wives are dependent on husbands.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So if a guy is a patient, attendant is suffering for no reason, and that's a bigger problem for women, because they're not. You'll be amazed as to how big of a difference there is between men towards pornography versus men, and did I say men? Men and women. So women generally don't even have that sort of a, what's the word? They're not going to be affected to that level, assuming that the speed of pickup rate remains the same. Because God knows if tomorrow more women are going to be into porn, the way things are going.
I think a lot of them are into it.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure, of course. That's the power of creativity behind this industry. I mean, they're really designing this industry. And you'll be amazed as to how much work it goes into this industry, way more than Hollywood or anything else, because they have very few variables to play, and we have way more situations to create. I mean, they want to design dopamine around it. They're designing dopaminergic processes without knowing the word.
Budget for a porn movie is going to be considerably less than the budget for a film, so they can churn out a lot more scenarios. And
that's why they're going to survive longer than Hollywood, but they're not going to survive as an individual filmmaker. The industry is going to survive, but it's not. So again, women are going to be suffering more than men in terms of no sin and twice the punishment. Men are going to know why they're actually suffering, and you'll be looking at men acting like literally dogs, from different women, just because of the fact that there is a different face on that body, and that's going to cause novelty. The novelty effect.
We've seen dogs and stuff like that in some of the, I don't know.
No, I'm just talking about literally the animal.
No, some of them actually pretend to be dogs and stuff.
Okay, well, but I'm talking metaphorically, because this guy will be demanding a new woman. Literally, there's going to come a time when AI is going to be recreating a new woman, and so AI is not going to put an actual woman there, and that's not going to have that kind of dopamine. But that's what what we're confused. We should know that AI is not going to service you real women. Hence, that's not going to be the same dopamine. And you need real women because the conquest is dopamine, and you need to conquer the woman. That's real dopamine. As soon as you conquer the woman, that's the real game that only human beings organically play. When you actually, propose to a woman or a woman proposes to you, that's a conquest of a totally different nature. And that's an organic nature. That this man is actually, given up all of his life for me, or a woman that she's going to spend all of her life with me forever. That's actual conquest in that really real meaning of the word, and that's why it is such a big achievement to actually get married. Even though, in my hometown, you don't really have that conquest. Your parents do the job for you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they arranged it.
Now, to be honest, nowadays they're using apps for exactly the same effect. They talk about arranged marriages in Pakistan, but they have arranged marriages here in the UK. All they do is they use Tinder to arrange it for them. They use AI to arrange it for them. The matchmaker is a machine.
That's not a conquest.
Yes, that's not a conquest.
You need to propose to your own women. Okay.
Yes.
And that's something which is going to get you a lot more points on the leadership index in front of your own wives. Okay. And if they are proposing to you, it's okay, but they need to know why they're proposing.